going to start recording the presentation. So, and while we're doing that, I would like to share my screen because I do have a presentation. Mary Ellen, I'm going to make you co-host, if that's okay, so that I don't need to keep an eye on the participants channel. We are expecting Sharam to join us. So just keep an eye out for Sharam if we can. And Mr. Stossel, I did not expect you to be joining us. Well, good morning.
I have to hop off at 12:30.
Okay.
Good to have everybody here.
So Mary Ellen, you're now co-host. So give me just a second. Good morning,
So
Larry.
Chris, the answer is yes, I would be willing. I didn't respond to your email.
No, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
So good morning, everybody. It's kind of nice to connect a face to an email. Stuart, I think we've been, and Erwin, we've been corresponding for what, a year and a half now at this point?
Yeah.
And we're actually approaching a somewhat live event. So what I'd like to do today is I prepared a presentation. Everyone will get a copy of the presentation afterwards, as well as a edited copy of or link to the YouTube video. Kind of go over a little bit about the expectations of the conference, answer any questions that you may have. The very fact that you were able to join this meeting guarantees us of being successful in your keynote presentation. But before we start, on behalf of the SVC Board of Directors, and all of the stakeholders, I just want to say thank you for sharing some of your most precious asset, which is time, with us, with our stakeholders. And we just hope you get as much out of the experience as I am sure our stakeholders will get. So if I get into my presentation, I'd like to give you a little bit of a feel. I'd like to go over where we currently stand, the overall conference, introduce you to our tutorial program. It's not part of what we're doing. Just to let you know, there's another event going on as well with our conference. Talk to you a bit about the virtual TechCon mechanics, your responsibilities, some critical information. I have this post-conference memorialization, which is a very awkward term as to what do we do afterwards, and just let you know that the time flies and 2022 will be here before we know it, and just introduce the fact that we are having a 2022 event with you as well. I want to introduce a few folks that are on the screen with us today. We have Mary Ellen Quinn. Mary Ellen Quinn is the chief admin in the SVC. Mary Ellen has played and will play a very key role in the mechanics and the execution of our technical conference. We have Lauren Kramer. Lauren is our digital events coordinator, and Lauren has been the angel sent from above that has allowed us to shift gears very quickly this year and transition from a in-person event to a virtual event. We also have joining us today Ed Wagner, who is the SVC president, and has Sharam joined us as well? I don't see Sharam, but basically what we have, gentlemen, is Ed, Chris, myself, and Sharam will be playing a role in your keynotes by providing a very brief introduction to you, to our SVC stakeholders during the event. Where are we? You might have seen part of it, but you certainly didn't see all of it. The incessant communication with our stakeholders and our presenters in getting commitments and presentations uploaded and online. The keynote presentations are the only live presentations we are doing this year in order to maintain schedule, which we have found, and many of our peer societies have found, in order to maintain schedule, particularly on the majority of the presentations, which are 20 minutes in length, we had to transition to a recorded presentation, and we've adopted an approach where the recorded presentation is always followed by some live question and answer. And in fact, for the Don Maddox tutorial, and you see Larry Scipione in the window, Larry has elected to take a recorded approach to his presentation. And Larry's already participated earlier this week in a brief with our standard presentations. Currently, we are in excess of 95% of the committed presentations to us uploaded. We expected a little bit more attrition. So we're fortunate to have not experienced that attrition. And there was a fear that we were going to have to densify and repack the schedule. And we're happy to say that we don't have to do that. And the reason for that is very straightforward. Emails get lost. If we were to adjust the time schedule at this point in time, we're absolutely guaranteed that somebody would miss the time schedule. And we don't want to give an excuse for people to miss out on an opportunity to participate in the question and answer session. Time management is the most important thing we have. You have 40 minutes for your presentation. I want to apologize in advance, but we have trained our administrators, Mary Ellen being one of them, that time is spent like a German train schedule. At the end of the time, the train moves on. So we've got to pay attention to where we are in timing on the presentation, because we don't really have an opportunity to go past the timing. One of the very interesting, somewhat unexpected, but in hindsight, we should have expected it, aspects of a pre-recorded series of presentations is the quality of the presentations that have been submitted far exceeds what our expectations were. And here, I'm going to give you advice, which I didn't take, which was to shut down the email before you give a presentation. I thought I had done that, but let me close that if I can. Oh no, there we go. Let me just get this off. Close the window. There we go. Okay. What has happened is the presentations have been astounding in terms of their quality. I think it subscribes to the fact that people have had to define themselves with a fixed period of time. They've had a chance to practice it and review it and submit a finished product. Gone are the days, and we're not experiencing in this event, of folks, I've done this a couple of times, showing up at the registration counter with a laptop in hand and a memory stick sticking out, and they've completed their presentation in the taxi cab from the airport to the event. And could we please get this up to our presenter AV podium in time for them to scoot up on stage and deliver a poorly rehearsed presentation, which takes too much time in the beginning. The last set of presentation and the last set of slides just fly by, and people are left with, what did I just hear? No, that's not what we're seeing this year. Quality of the presentations is beyond. And as a consequence, it's generating some internal discussion as to, going forward, how do we enhance and extend the capabilities and the utility of everything that we do, including our conference, to take advantage of these digital media platforms that are in fact enabling our virtual event. Very, very interesting. For everyone's edification, and you'll get the hot links in this presentation that I sent to you, but we've just published last week our bulletin, which is our signature digital publication. It's published 3 times a year. This spring issue of the bulletin has a very extended preview of our conference and our education program. And it features all of you very significantly as well. So you may want to reference this or even distribute this to your colleagues. And it provides links to conference registration and or tutorial registration. The sausage that is our event takes a lot of people to make. And we have well over a dozen subject areas of focus. We call them technical advisory committees. And we also have some topic specific sessions that are oriented. And there's a local management team for each area that focuses on subject, getting speakers. For example, Stuart Sharam, who is co-chair of the biomedical tech, was instrumental in snagging you or convincing you or cajoling you, and hopefully there was no blackmail involved, to come and present as a keynote for our presentation. So we want to make sure that we give everyone some level of recognition to the hard work that goes into presenting an event like this. And there's a few of us, myself included, that get to be the face of the SVC. It's really just the face, and we're standing on the shoulders of quite a number of very, very talented people. We will be putting on for 2 weeks after the conference an education program. We will be offering 2 courses a day, 3 days per week over 2 weeks, for a total of 12 courses that span the range of the technologies and application areas that as a society we tend to focus on. This is actually a much abridged version of our traditional education program. Had we gone ahead with our scheduled in-person event this year in Nashville, Dave, you would have been confronted with an opportunity to attend any number of up to 47 different tutorials that we would be offering in person. And that's something we're very, very proud of as an organization, of being able to deploy education. It's in our mission statement to our folks. The reason we're putting the program, the education program, after the conference is twofold. One, we don't want to compete for people's time during the conference. And second, the anticipation is that people who will be joining the conference for the first time might be intrigued by the subject matter and might be interested in taking a course to take a little bit deeper dive into the subject afterwards. So they will be going on for 2 weeks after the event. So I'm going to get to utter my favorite word. My favorite word of the year is called Swoogu. So when we talk a little bit about the mechanics, if you've registered for the course, or if you registered for the conference, actually, I'm sorry, you will have gone in through an application that looks like a website, and that's called Swoogu. It's a software platform that we had embraced last year through the advice of a sister organization of ours, the American Vacuum Society, when we had to move to a different registration platform. So at its very basic implementation, Swoogu is a vehicle by which we can credential people to attend our event, and we can credential them to attend our tutorial program, and at the end of the day, figure out a way to charge them for those events. When we decided to adopt Swoogu as a platform, I think we had the foresight, driven more by experience, that we wanted to bring on a Swoogu black belt to help us through the first implementation. And that's where we were first introduced to Lauren Kramer, who allowed us, or who worked with us, to put the registration platform together for the in-person event. When it became obvious that we were transitioning or moving towards a virtual event, it was with Lauren's recommendation that we consider Swoogu for the virtual hub for our online event. We did. I'm happy we did. We've never looked back. And as a consequence, when you go and participate in the conference, and when people come to participate and witness your presentations, they will be coming in through the Swoogu app. And the Swoogu app, in particular as it applies to conferences, is absolutely phenomenal in that it allows people to channel surf. You can decide what presentations you want to take. It allows people to focus blocks of time and park themselves, sort of ABC for the evening. And when you look at our schedule, Chris Stossel, who is in the meeting as well, who's our program director, we put together a program so that subject matter materials, where we could, were organized by session into the blocks. And we also took account geographic situations. So Erwin, all of our European colleagues and presenters, we've tried to schedule early in the period so that it's not too late in the afternoon or early evening for them to participate. Our folks in California, sort of midday, so that they're not getting out of bed too early. And sadly, our folks in Asia, we tried to push them towards the end of the day so that instead of getting out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, they might be getting out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. So what the Swoogu app does is it allows all of our conference attendees, and we think we're the first ones to be doing this, to actually go in and generate a customized agenda where you can decide what you want to watch, you build your program, and then you just execute on this pre-stored agenda. One thing that we tell everyone, and I don't think there is a page that we haven't displayed this information on, is that all the times that we present are Eastern Daylight Time, UTC minus 4 hours. No. But, and this is a big but, and this is why I said the fact that you've been able to join the meeting here, everything gets done in the back office, which is Zoom. So your presentations will be conducted in a Zoom meeting, just like we're having right now. The in-person, the live events are actually much easier from a logistics standpoint for us to put on, which I'll get into in a second, but you'll be presenting as if you were making a presentation via Zoom. And that presentation will be streamed out of Zoom, take a slight detour through YouTube, which also offers a video streaming service, and then we'll get streamed back into the Swoogu app. You will all receive, and Lauren, I don't know if you've sent them out yet, but you'll all be receiving a calendar invitation with your Zoom invitation for your presentation. So at the end of the day, Zoom is our streaming front end. And unless if you're going to present, you have to join Zoom and you don't come in through Swoogu. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, I'll continue. So what do we need to worry about? It's hard to imagine, but there are still situations where people have not allowed Zoom to take over their lives. We recommend people download the Zoom client and the calendar plugin simply so that when you get a Zoom invitation, it goes into your calendar and you don't miss joining the presentation. Your presentations are scheduled to start at 10 in the morning, 10 Eastern Daylight Time. Your Zoom invitation will have you joining us 15 minutes prior. Why do we want to do that? We want to make sure that your camera is on, your video, your audio is presenting, and we'll transition you to sharing your screen, your presentation. We'll have your introducer in the meeting as well. So the way this is going to work, Bill, I will be introducing you on Monday. Stuart on Tuesday. Shahram Amini will be introducing you. Dr. Aronoff on Wednesday. Ed Wagner will be introducing you. Larry, you'll be doing a video presentation, so we will be launching your video, but when we go into question and answer, I will then introduce you to the team as well. And Erwin on Friday, Chris Stossel, our program director, will be introducing you. I will be, as I've said internally in a memo, I'm the parsley in all of the morning presentations. I will be there as well, and I will start with a small 2 or 3 sentence introduction to the SVC. This way, our speaker introducers do not need to worry about that component. All of our speaker introducers have received a copy of your bios, and I would just recommend that in everyone's personal style, don't read it, but just summarize it. This way, we want to make these a little bit personal. Does that make sense to our folks that are going to be introducing the speakers? Yeah. What do you want to do? Obviously, you already see. You want to leave the Swoogu app. You want to open up Zoom and you want to close your email, because during your presentation, you don't need to see these email notifications. And I'll take an aside. I work for a startup and we were running kind of at the end of our runway. We all knew we were running out of cash. We're in a meeting and the CEO is telling us, guys, okay, don't worry. We can live. We got money to go. We're okay. And he's giving a presentation, and what comes up in the lower right screen is an email notification titled Your New Job Offer. Okay, so that was a very interesting distraction for all of us. You'll come in, we'll be set up. I'll make the introduction. Your speaker introducer will introduce you. Your presentation will be shared with the audience at 10 o'clock. It comes in, everyone comes in from the waiting room. And then we will continue for, I'm going to suggest that your presentations be somewhere between 30 and 35 minutes in length. And then when it's complete, as a moderator, I will come back on. My job will be to present to you questions that may be asked by our conference attendees. And that will come through a separate channel to me. The one thing that we do not have a way to share with you is the questions that are going into Swoogu. You may have seen some previous correspondence from me. At some point in time or some point in your presentation, we suggest that if you want, you share your email address so that folks could reach out to you directly. We will not share your email address to anyone. That's part of our corporate privacy policy. As I mentioned previously, we need to focus on maintaining time. So my job, while you're giving your presentation, I will be in the background. You'll have your chat open. Suggest that you keep your chat open in Zoom. And if we are starting to run up against time, my job is to be as diplomatically as possible, kind of terminate, shut down, transition the presentation so that at the end of the 40-minute period, we're complete. And we then can go to a scheduled 10-minute break and then start with the pre-recorded presentations. Does that make sense? I'm just, as a group. I can't imagine you having given 100 of these presentations. Everybody comfortable with sharing a PowerPoint presentation? Dave, you're raising your finger. I mean, Dave, this is the presentation you gave our board, more or less. But I just want to make sure, is everybody comfortable who's giving a live presentation, comfortable with sharing their PowerPoint and keeping the camera on?
Yeah.
Only thing, it's all about time management, guys. Everything we do is about time. I don't want to take more than 25, 30 seconds of your time to introduce the conference. I would hopefully our speaker introducers would not take 20 minutes to introduce the speaker. Just a few sentences, try and condense the bios down in a way that you see appropriate using your style to be able to introduce the speaker. And then speaker, you're ready to go. Let's talk a little bit about post-conference memorialization. As it currently stands, we have a YouTube channel that we've established that we will be hosting the recorded videos afterwards for all those presenters who would like us to do that, and it requires them to give us a video release. As it stands right now, we have no plans at all to record your video or to record your presentation. But if you would like us to, we would be delighted to record the video and then post it up to the YouTube channel afterwards. So if you would like that to happen, just send me an email. I'll send you a release. We take this presentation is your intellectual property. You own it. You're giving us permission to post it to the YouTube channel. We will not monetize it. And if you ever want us to take it down, you just tell us it comes down. That's all spelled out in the video release. So I'd like you to consider sharing or allowing us to share outside the conference your presentation. Just drop me an email and we'll take it from there. You don't have to do anything, and we will record it in high definition and then post it up to the YouTube channel afterwards.
Hey,
That's
Frank.
Yes, sir.
Can we get a copy of that presentation?
Of course.
Okay.
Now, when you say copy, Bill, do you want a 1 gigabyte MP4 file, or do you want a link to the YouTube video? What would you like? You want the original?
A file, yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Good.
So, so that's video. You also have an opportunity, if you would like, to write a manuscript using the SVC template. That's highly unusual and very rare. But if you so wanted to write a manuscript, we would publish that in our conference proceedings. On the other hand, what has become very, very popular, and is another option for you as well, again, if you would like, is we can publish in our proceedings your PowerPoint presentation, and it would go into our conference proceedings and would go into our digital library. And that is what we've seen over the last 3 years. Is when we first started doing this, we had 50 some manuscripts and 3 or 4 PowerPoints. And in 2019, which sadly was the last year we've been able to hold a conference, we had 68 PowerPoints and 20 manuscripts. The world goes by PowerPoint these days. And it turns out that we're actually publishing in our bulletin the higher quality PowerPoint presentations because they're visually appealing. They communicate quite a bit of information. So you have an option as a keynote presenter, if you would like, to publish in our conference proceedings your PowerPoint presentation. I can apologize in advance that we will annoy you beyond comprehension afterwards to remind you to either tell us yes or no, and that we get all the appropriate paperwork figured out. But right now, that's something we can address afterwards. What we want to focus on right now is making sure that the experience for you as a keynote presenter is as easy as possible, and that will simply be open up the invitation, join the Zoom meeting, get your presentation queued up. We take you through sharing the screen, and then go have fun. Any questions? Come on, this is too easy.
Yeah, maybe with the video, I think I would be interested, but maybe it's good to remind us about this.
Erwin reminds you about
that you can record it, and I mean, I need to think a little bit about it, and maybe remind us that we can let you know.
Well, so what's going to happen? That's thank you for that. And I'm just, my world revolves around Post-it notes. So if it gets on a Post-it note, it gets done. So later this morning, I will upload to YouTube a copy of this presentation. Once I have that edited and uploaded, I will send everyone an email with a link to the YouTube presentation, a copy of this presentation that I just gave you, and I will make sure that I will remind everyone about the ability for us to record the presentation for you if you so desire. And listen, we can record it and not post it, right? If you feel that you don't want us to post it up to YouTube, we'd be happy to record it for you and just give you the file, as opposed to putting it up to YouTube, because once it goes up to YouTube, everybody can see it.
Yeah. Okay. I think I would be interested in that, but I'll let you know.
I can tell you that most people, so for example, Larry's probably the most commercially oriented here. Larry's shaking his head. Larry also happens to be the TAC chair of our thin film superconductors TAC. But, perhaps one of the best things that was said was in a presenter's brief earlier this week by Ralph Bandorf, who's section head of thin films at Fraunhofer IST, who basically was very effusive on the video, because as he said, this is a great way for him to build not only his personal brand, but the personal brand of his company through this ongoing access on a hosted channel. So again, I would like to encourage everyone, but I don't want to put anyone on the spot. I will remind you in the email that you need to tell us to do it, because we will not do anything without your explicit approval.
All right.
So let me ask Sharam, Ed, I think Chris had to drop off because Chris is out in California. We spoke before. He's got the transition between two corporate sites for his company. Or is everybody comfortable being the introducer person?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We're kind of and again, I want to go back. We're likely to be putting on an event that's much more polished than we had originally thought we could possibly do. And we could not have done this without the guidance of Lauren Kramer and this very interesting platform that's likely to find its way into a lot of our activities going forward. So we're excited that you're not joining kind of an ad hoc, let's all sit around and have a meeting type of an event. And I think, quite honestly, when I look at your stature and the quality of your presentations, I think we owe it to you to put on a spectacular event as well. So I want to thank you in advance for your work, and we will see you online.
Thank you, Frank.
All right, guys. All right,
Thanks,
nice to
thanks,
see
Frank.
all of you. Nice to see a
Greatly
face.
appreciated. Hi,
Okay.
Sharon. Long time no see.
Good to see you, Stuart.
Erwin, folks, we'll see you now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks very
Bye-bye.
much, Frank.
Bye-bye.